Ralph. My name is Ralph Pincus. I am the acting chair for today's Board of License and Inspection Review hearings. We have a list that consists of approximately 50 cases, a little more. A number of them have been resolved prior to the hearing. If you're here and your case has been resolved, you need to listen very carefully at the beginning of these hearings, because if your case is resolved, we won't hear it. If you're confused or don't understand, you should call the office of the board's administration. That number is on the notice that you received for today's hearing, and you should call that office to have them explain it to you if your matter has been resolved administratively. These are formal hearings. There, as I said, are a fair enough. There's over 50 that are listed. We may be here for several hours, so you need to be prepared to wait your turn until your case is called. It's a formal hearing before a board. This is very similar to a court hearing. We ask that you be stationary at the time of your case being called. And if you're in motion or moving, that's disruptive on the screen to people who are watching these hearings. So then please remove yourself so that we don't have this disturbance. Because it's a formal hearing, we ask people to be dressed appropriately as if they're in a courtroom, that they should not be wearing hats and wearing appropriate clothing to have their matter heard. I think that's the preliminary announcements that I need to make. There is a court reporter transcribing everything that is being said. So if you need to appeal this determination, there will be a transcription available. I'd like to have the other members of the board introduce themselves. Then we'll start going through administrative matters. And again, if you are in attendance, we ask that you remove your screen if you are in motion, because that disturbs the rest of the ability of us to see and focus on the speaker.
Good morning, my name's Steve Pettit, board member.
Roger S. Tennant, senior board member.
Beverly Penn, board member.
Ken Washington, board member.
Cortez Patton, board member.
Brad McSherry, board counsel.
Mr. Wade, are you here?
Board administrator.
Very good. So who is the spokesperson from the City of Philadelphia's Law Department?
Good morning, good afternoon. It's been a long day already. Acting Chairman Pincus. Michael Rullo, R-U-L-L-O, on behalf of the city, and I will handle the reading of the list today. Very good. Shall we begin? Of course. Beginning with number 1, appeal ending 000-348-7401 Edmund Street, Paul Santos. My understanding is that that was listed in error and should be off the list.
We agree.
Moving to number 5, appeal ending 001-617, 118 West Cliveden Street, Gina Dade, can be marked moot.
So noted.
Number 11, ending 002-551, 2247 North 16th Street, Jessica Roberts, moot.
So noted.
Number 14, ending 002-632, 2732 South Darien Street. I'm going to spell the name. It's G-U-A-N-G-Z-H-E-N, last name Q-I-U. My understanding is that has been withdrawn.
All right, so let me interrupt for a minute. If you hear the city's representative saying, as Mr. Rullo is saying, that this case number 14 is noted as withdrawn, that the matter is moot, that means the city has made an inspection or a determination that the violation is no longer in effect, and there will be no hearing on the matter today. If you need further clarification, you should call the office that I mentioned, the Office of Boards Administration, or if you need to, call the City of Philadelphia Department of Licenses and Inspections number listed on your violation notice. Go ahead, Mr. Rulo.
Number 16, ending 002699, 6818 Pascal Avenue, Albert Willis, moot.
So noted.
Number 18, ending 002755, 5921 Upland Way, Michelle Graham, moot.
Again, so noted.
Number 20, ending 002769, 5249 D Street, Jean Polinis, a moot.
So noted.
Number 23, 002-822, 1115 Dufour Street, Josephine Barone. There was a joint continuance request due to exigent circumstances for opposing counsel. I just wanted to note if that was granted or not already.
We reviewed it and we've agreed to grant it. I believe this is a second listing.
I believe that's correct.
All right, so I don't know that we need to mark it must be tried.
I respectfully ask not, given the circumstances of opposing counsel in this instance.
All right, I understand. We'll just mark it continued.
Turning to number 24, 002-824, 4839 Haverford Avenue, Delane Andrews, moot.
So noted.
Number 26, 002-877, 1636 South 6th Street, June Abdullah. My understanding is that has been withdrawn.
Marked withdrawn.
Moving to number 32, ending 002-976, 2041 Walnut Street, Jerome Henry, doing business as Walmore Associates Limited, moot.
So noted.
36, ending 003-789, 4920 Woodland Avenue, George King, doing business as Mount Zion Baptist Church. My understanding is that has been withdrawn.
So noted.
37, ending 003-802, 4007 Old York Road, Devin Johnson, moot.
So noted.
Number 42, Peel ending 003-838, 4617
I'm sorry, would you repeat that?
4617 Sheffield Avenue, Jacqueline Schwartz, moot.
So noted.
43, ending 003-839, 9363 Hoff Street, Sergey Gursky, moot.
So noted.
Number 44, 003-840, 117 West Sedgwick Street, Michelle Nashalinas, moot.
So noted. We know that Ms. Nashalinas notified us of a hearing impairment. I don't know whether she's in the waiting room or on the call. Mr. Wade,
I don't believe so.
she had requested closed captioning, but if you don't see her name, then we'll proceed. It's moot complied, correct?
Yes, moot.
Yes, thank you.
Number 46, 003-987, 856 North Marco Street, Zachariah Benedum, moot.
So noted.
Number 48, ending 004-054, 2938 Aramingo Avenue, Russell Quackenbush, moot.
So noted.
Number 50, ending 004-111, 1441 West Cayuga Street, Cynthia Jackson, moot.
So noted.
And then board members, I have a couple of agreements to read into the record, and I believe colleagues do as well.
All right. You want to do yours first since you have center stage at the moment?
You know, why not? I will direct your attention to number 12, ending 002-573, 1116 South Wilton Street, Daniel Farrell. We previously contacted the board. Mr. Farrell indicated that he would not be able to appear and did give authorization for me to read this into the record. We don't have a written agreement, but the board has been made aware, and that agreement is a city affirm with a 90-day stay of enforcement.
City affirm 90-day stay noted on the record.
Number 17, ending 002-728, 9200 Bluegrass Road, Fountain Point Condominium Association. They're represented by Glenn Ross. As with the last one, we did email the board a short while ago, confirming that there was an agreement for a city affirm with a 60-day stay of enforcement. Again, we don't have a written copy given how close we were to the hearing time, but Mr. Ross is also not here.
Okay, so you're representing for him that this is the agreement.
Yes, and he was on the email that was part of when we contacted the board.
Very good. So noted.
I believe that does it for mine, and I will turn
Okay.
to my colleagues.
So let me start where I see it on my screen. The first hand I see is Michelle Reinhardt. Ms. Reinhardt.
Good afternoon. I have three matters to bring to your attention. The first is number 6. This is appeal ending 002495 regarding 1725 Bainbridge Street. There is an agreement that was sent to the board this morning. And it was for city affirms 60-day stay of enforcement with the city permitted to inspect during those 60 days.
Very good. So noted.
The next one is number 41 on the list. This is a request for continuance due to inspector unavailability. Appeal number ending 003836 regarding 1239 West Westmoreland Street.
Have you been in touch with the appellant, Ms. Noel? Or
No.
Mr.?
So I attempted to reach them and their email address always came back as undeliverable. So I copied them on the request to the court the board when it was made yesterday, but have still not been able to reach them. And I do not see anyone here yet that appears to have that name.
Dorianne Noel I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Is Dorianne Noel present at this hearing? Well, I do not hear a response, but since you indicated you're not in a position to proceed, we'll agree to continue the matter.
Thank you. And then the next one is number 45 on the list, appeal ending 003841 regarding 1215 West Somerset Street. Again, this was a city continuance request due to inspector unavailability. And I emailed that request to them and have not received a response, but also did not receive an undeliverable message like in the other case.
Is Gregory Burrows present? Gregory Burrows. Well, again, under the circumstances, we'll agree to continue the case for a further hearing date.
Thank you. That concludes my list.
Very good. Mr. I'm going to butcher your name, Wizarek.
Good afternoon. I have two matters to direct the board to. The first one is number 7 on the list, appeal ending 2514 for the property located at 2038 East Elkhart Street. The appellant is Justin Myers. The city sent this to a board. There is an agreement to resolve the appeal It will be a city affirm with a 30-day stay of enforcement.
Very good. Is Mr. Myers present?
I do not believe so.
All right, but you have communicated and he's signed the agreement, correct?
Yes, I sent a signed agreement over to the board.
Very good. All right, we'll mark that as settled.
Then for number 8 on the list, appeal ending 2518. The property is 2319 North College Avenue. The appellant is Caroline Sue. There's also an agreement to resolve this. It will be a city affirm with a reduced fine of $150.
And is Ms. Shu here?
I do not believe she is here as well, but the
Alright.
signed agreement was sent to the board.
Very good, so noted.
Thank you.
Mr. Begelman, I see next.
Yes, good afternoon, members of the board. I have a few matters to bring to your attention. The first concerns case numbers 21 and 22. They're both regarding 1223 West Hilton Street with Teresa Logan as the appellant. Their case appeal numbers ending 2787 and 2789. Both have been resolved with an agreement for a city affirm with reduced fines of $150.
City affirmed fine of $150.
Yes, for both, for each of
both
them.
Very good. We'll note this in the record, in the file.
The next one is case number 27 on the list, appeal number ending 2903 concerning 5379 Thomas Avenue. Appellant is Stacy Wooden. That has also been resolved with an agreement for a city affirm with a $150 fine.
I forgot to ask in the prior case, these are signed agreements, so it's quite possible the appellants are not present. Is that correct?
Correct.
Very good, noted for the record.
And finally, I wanted to bring your attention to case number 13 on the list, appeal number ending 2580, 716 Strahl Street.
Yes.
I believe the appellant has requested a continuance, and the city noted its objection, but I don't know if the board has reached a decision on that request.
Well, we have not reached a decision on the request. We noted it. This is the second time it's been listed, and the appellant this time is saying they started a new job. I assume they could have scheduled things knowing the hearing was coming up for this date so they could try to make themselves available. Is Mr. Case number 13, is Mr. Kilrain, William Kilrain present? I see someone's flashing, but I don't know. William Kilrain. Are you here, sir? There's a Mr. Keenan who's coming off and on. You're not responding to my call request from Mr. Kilrain, are you, sir?
Mr.
No.
Keenan is an aye.
All right. Let me hear from the city. Do you believe that we need to hear the case today, or can this be continued for one further time?
There was a message left in our office, Your Honor, the East District office, that for 716 Strahl.
Would you identify yourself, please?
Yeah, this is Robert Keenan from License and Inspections. And we couldn't get, my clerk didn't get the phone number. They were trying, somebody was trying to reach us from that address. I guess they were trying to get onto the meeting. So that's the only thing I have on that right now. If that helps
I
your
think
decision.
you want to swear him in for that testimony?
I'm sorry, Mr. Tennant.
You want to swear Mr. Keenan in for that testimony for a
Well,
record?
Would you affirm, Mr. Keenan, that the statements you just made were the truth and nothing but the truth? Could you raise your right hand and agree to that?
I do.
Very good. Mr. Begelman, this isn't a condition that's danger or life-threatening in any way, is it? It's a fence, I believe.
That's correct. It's a zoning or permits violation. There's nothing that does not endanger the health or safety of the public. The city opposes the contingency request because this is the second time he's requested a continuance for work-related issues. The city's not convinced those issues are going to be resolved. His employment issues are going to be resolved the next time it gets listed.
Because-
To the extent the board is amenable to giving it one more listing, the city just requests that it be marked as must be tried.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes.
It's a fence that exceeds the permitted height under the zoning code.
That's
Is there
correct.
an appeal pending to the zoning board on this property?
The records that I've reviewed in our system indicate that there's been no steps taken by the appellant to either legalize the fence, apply for a permit, or apply for a zoning variance to legalize the fence. And the fence is still there. It hasn't not been taken down.
And I think I'm going to ask if you can hold on for a minute so that the board can have a brief executive session. Won't be long.
That's fine.
Let's go into a breakout room for the board for a moment to make sure. Very good. I assume Mr. Kelly is recording, is transcribing. I don't see Mr. Kelly. I just want to make sure. Mr. Kelly?
Yes, Chair, I am here.
Very good, very good. I'm sorry that it took a little longer than expected. We're a little troubled by this, Mr. Bagelman. However, what we've decided to do is continue the case. We'd ask if you are in communication with the appellant to let him know the board's determination is to continue it. It must be tried, and to share with him that that means he has to be prepared to be here at the next hearing. And you may want to also say to him that the existence of the fence is a zoning violation, and ask him or suggest to him that if he hasn't taken the necessary steps to clear the zoning violation, that he's got a difficult issue to deal with. Is that all right, Mr. Bagelman?
Understood. Thank you.
All right, so let me just make sure this is, I've got to get back to my list. Which case number, sir?
It was case number 13.
13, we're going to continue it. And Mr.
Thank you.
Keenan, we're continuing it. I don't know if you have any other cases to be involved in
I think
today.
it's, if I say this is a continue with a must be tried, correct?
Continued must be tried.
Thank you.
I
Thank
do.
you.
Thank you.
All right. Mr. Bagelman, do you have other cases, or are you done with your cases for today?
I have one more case on the list. I don't know if the appellant is appeared, but we can call that in regular order
Okay,
if you wish.
okay.
Thank you.
Fine. I see Ms. Athanasiadis's hand raised. I haven't seen you in a while, so hello.
Acting Chairperson Pincus, yes, Alexandra Athanasiadis here on behalf of the Philadelphia Water Department, sir. I have cases numbers 51 through 54 on the list, where the appellant is Crown Bakeries, property address 5698 Rising Sun Avenue. Those matters have been resolved, Chairperson Pincus. However, counsel for the appellant will be formally withdrawing the appeals once the settlement is fully executed. And I know the matters are listed as must be tried, so I leave it to your discretion as to whether you want to list it for a continuance while she formally withdraws, or, you know, however you'd like me to put it on the record. But those matters have been resolved.
Well, I guess if you want to represent that, is it resolved by agreement, resolved by the process of withdrawal?
By process of a consent order and settlement agreement, that once it is fully executed, they will be formally withdrawing their appeals.
Well, is Ms. Silva present today?
She is not. She sent an email yesterday morning to the board, advising of the settlement and that pending formal execution of the document, then she would be withdrawing the appeals. I did reach out to her this morning. She is in a mediation, so she was unavailable to present herself today here at the hearing. But I advised her, and I could forward the board the correspondence that I would be making the representation to the board.
I guess I'm gonna sort of put it in your hands. Do you want us to mark it as withdrawn? But by agreement, we can say it's withdrawn. But if you're not comfortable saying that, I'm a little troubled by having to list it again as continued. But if you're confident that it will be withdrawn, then I'll continue it one more time.
I am confident it will be withdrawn. I'm looking to get it fully executed within the next couple of days. We resolved it yesterday, hence the delay in signing. But yes, and it could be the shortest of continuances with the understanding that it will be removed from the list.
All right, we'll mark it continued. We'll leave the must be tried and let us hope that the administrative aspects will be done within 48 hours.
Yes, I will do my best to ensure that it's done by then.
Very good.
Okay, that concludes my matters. May I be excused?
Yes, yes, of course. Have a
Thank you
good
very much.
afternoon.
Have a good afternoon.
Mr. Fernandez, I see your hand, and I'm missing the background for Miss Paschal is very light, so I didn't realize her hand was up, but I called you, Mr. Fernandez.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So first, I want to confirm case number 3 on the list, appeal number ending 1245, address 261 South 13th Street, appellant Shri Sai CD Spruce LLC. We submitted an agreement to the board. City affirmed with a 75-day stay. I just wanted to confirm that that was received.
I have it noted on my list.
Fantastic. Next, there is a pending continuance request regarding case number 30 on the list, appeal number ending 2944, address 2007 Kinsey Street, appellant Roman Gamberg, doing business as 4520 Torresdale LLC.
Hold on a second, please. Hold on
Oh,
a
yes,
second.
of course.
You said case number 40?
30.
Yes, I see that. Okay, I'm sorry. Yes.
They're represented by Meredith Verliger, who I believe is on this call. I don't see her right now, but I thought I saw her earlier. Oh, there she is. Hi, Meredith.
Hello, Ms. Verlinger. Yes.
So we agreed to, council and I agreed to a continuance in this matter. I was provided with architectural plans that indicate that repairs correcting the outstanding violations should be conducted in the next couple of weeks. I shared that with the inspector. They were in agreement and agreed to the continuance request. However, because this is a second continuance request, it couldn't be granted administratively and had to go before the board. So for this matter, I would ask that it be continued at least 30 days with the expectation that it will be resolved without the need for a hearing.
Should we mark it, since it's the second continuance, as must be tried if it does not get resolved?
Based on the current status, I would not make that request. I wouldn't necessarily be opposed if the board preferred doing that, but I would not make the request just in case things were progressing, but hit a small hitch or something, and we still had reason to believe that it was close to resolution at the time of the next hearing. I don't expect it to be necessary, but based on everything I know here, I don't think that's necessary.
Well, my inclination is if it's been listed twice, our board prefers to list it as must be tried. We can always, instead of having, I don't know when the next hearing available date would be, but it's probably at least 30 days out. So there's ample time to get the matter resolved. So my inclination, unless I hear strong objections from Ms. Verlinger, is to mark it as must be tried and we'll continue the case.
No strong, I'm sorry, go ahead, Meredith.
I'm sorry, Will. Mr. Chairman, I don't have a strong objection. My client had some issues removing a tenant, which was preventing them from making progress in this regard. That tenant is now gone. So they are making some very good progress to resolve these violations. I don't have any strong objection if you mark it must be tried. I have a strong belief that this issue will be resolved long prior to a next hearing date.
Very good. So we'll mark it continued, must be tried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
It was
Chairman.
good to see you. Thank you. Anything else, Mr. Fernandez?
Yeah, finally, I'd just like to confirm a continuance that I think was made administratively. It's case number 47 on the list, appeal number ending 3990, address 2342 Sabert Street, appellants Dallas and Samantha Martin. Ms. Martin, though she is the appellant here, not counsel to an appellant, she is an attorney and she had a previously scheduled deposition at the time of this hearing. I reviewed the violations, made sure there were no safety concerns, and agreed to submit her continuance request. So that was submitted to the board. I just wanted to make sure that it was noted.
It was submitted. It was submitted, and we have no objection to granting a continuance.
Thank you. That concludes. I'm sorry.
This is the first listing for this case.
Yes, I believe so.
Okay, very good.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That concludes my preliminary matters. Thank you.
Very good. Let's go to Ms. Paschal.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. First I would like to address emergency appeal, which is number 56, HA 2024-002284, pertaining to a 1501 Moyamensing Avenue, related to an Andre Sewell.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, this matter is an emergency appeal for a property at the same property as number 55. I am handling number 56. I do not see Mr. Sewell on the call. Prior to addressing 55, I just wanted to see if he is present.
Andre Sewell, S-E-W-E-L-L, are you present? Is there an Andre Sewell or anyone present concerning the property at 1501 West Moyamensing Avenue? I do not hear a response. And since the hearings were scheduled for 12:30, and it is now 1:44, we can dispense with the matter if you would like at this time.
That is my request, Mr. Chairman.
What is your request?
For a city affirmed due to failure to appear.
I guess, Mr. Pettit, would you share with us the time?
1:44 p.m.
6354 Algard Street, that's his mailing address. And notice this hearing was sent on an emergency basis to 6354 Algard Street on August 6, 2024.
It's a different address than the address of the subject property, correct?
Yes.
But notice was sent to the address listed on the appeal.
Yes, the appellant's address.
All right, there's a request for city affirmed. We've called Andre Sewell and not received any reply. My vote is city affirmed for non-appearance.
City affirmed non-appearance.
City affirmed for non-appearance.
City affirmed for non-appearance.
City affirmed non-appearance.
City affirmed non-appearance.
Very good, thank you. Ms. Paschal, do you have another matter?
I do. And as for number 55, which is HA 2024-002282, also 1501 West Moyamensing Avenue, but appellant Harry Sanchu. Chairman, this is a city affirm with a 30-day stay of enforcement. This agreement was signed between the appellant and my colleague Jim Kelly and sent to the board last week.
We have it, and it's so noted on the record.
And that would conclude my business, if I may be excused.
Thank you. Have a good afternoon.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, how do we list that? City affirm?
City affirmed 30-day stay of enforcement.
Thank you.
Ms. Athanasiadis, I see your hand and so I thought we should bring you back if you have something further. Maybe not. Ms. Athanasiadis, I'm finally saying your name correctly. Well, let's move on to Mr. Logue. I see 3 more hands. Mr. Logue.
Good afternoon, Chairman Pincus and members of the board. I have 2 matters I want to call your attention to. The first is number 10 on our list, appeal ending in 002544, address 1215 South Marco Street. Appellant is Pamela Edmonds. We've resolved this appeal by agreement, the terms of which are city affirm with a reduced fine of $150. I have not shared that agreement yet with the board. The appellant, I think, is having some difficulties printing and signing, so I'm mailing that out to her. I can send the agreement with my signature only to the board later this afternoon.
All right, you'll send a copy of the fully signed agreement to the board when you receive it?
Yes, I will.
All right, agreement, city affirmed, fine $150, case number 10.
Correct.
Very good.
And then the other matter that I want to call your attention to is case number 31 on our list, appeal ending in 002965, address 2300 Cotman Ave. Appellant is Ray Richardson, doing business as R&R Produce Inc. And the city has resolved that appeal as well by agreement, the terms of which are city affirm with a 210-day stay of enforcement.
City affirmed 210-day stay of enforcement.
Correct.
210 days?
Yes, there are, the violation was for 2 permits, a building permit and a zoning permit. And from speaking to opposing counsel and my counterpart at the Department of License and Inspections, I understand zoning permits are significantly backlogged, and they expect that it would probably take 6 months for that to be reviewed and approved. But the attorney is submitting it on an expedited basis. So I'm hopeful that the full 210 days won't be necessary.
That's fine. So we noted as city affirmed a 210-day stay. Just so it's noted for the record, if in fact we had gone forward to hear the case, I would have recused myself because of a relationship with professional relationship with Mr. Clinton. But we can note the agreement here. Is that all, Mr. Logue?
And that agreement, likewise, I don't have signed yet. I do expect to get the signed agreement back from opposing counsel probably later today, but I will share that as well as soon as I have it.
Very good.
And that concludes my preliminary matters.
Very good. I'm going to murder this council's name, Mr. Guglielza. Do you have cases you want to call to our attention?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. The first case that I would like to bring to the board's attention is case number 15 on our list, ending in 002683, appellant Lee Ching Lin. Ms. Lin and I came to an agreement for a city affirm with a 90-day stay of enforcement. That agreement will be transmitted to the board later today.
Very good. City affirmed a 90-day stay.
Thank you. And then the second matter that I have today is case number 9 on our list. That's ending in 002524 with a Mr. Ishmael Powell. Unfortunately, my attempts to communicate with Mr. Powell went unanswered over the last few weeks. I was wondering if we could call the case and if he is here, if I could have a breakout room to speak with him.
Well, all right. Ishmael Powell. Mr. Wade, would you call the case?
Case number 9, hearing appeal ending 2524, 2020 South Redfield Street, Ishmael Powell.
Is anyone here regarding this property or representing Ishmael Powell? Well, we're not receiving a response under the circumstances. What would you request that we do?
The city would request a city affirm for failure to appear.
Mr. Powell listed 2020 South Redfield as his address. Notice of a prior hearing as well as this hearing was sent to 2020 South Redfield Street on July 5th, 2024.
And the case had previously been continued. Do you have a notice to the reason for the continuance?
Just continued.
Very good. All right. There's no one present. Mr. Pettit, do you have the time?
1:52 PM.
The request is for a city affirm. My vote is city affirmed for non-appearance.
City affirm non-appearance.
City affirmed for non-appearance.
City affirmed for non-appearance.
City affirmed, non-appearance.
City affirmed, non-appearance.
Very good. Anything further?
Thank you, members of the board. I have no further business. May I be excused?
Have a good afternoon.
Thank you. You as well.
Mr. Johnson, I see you're smiling face as the next person up.
A wonderful afternoon to every member of the board and everyone on the call. I would like to raise a preliminary matter with the case that's listed at 19 on the list, HA 2023-002765, 817 South 8th Street. The appellant, Mr. Doe, is on the line with his attorney, Mr. Stern. We had a chance to discuss the matter in a breakout room and would ask that the board mark it as city affirmed with a 90-day stay of enforcement.
I know that we haven't noted for having an interpreter present. Perhaps we should call the case and the interpreter and make sure that it's put on the record through the interpreter.
May I intervene, Attorney Stern, for Mr. Doe?
Yes.
The issue is he's more deaf than needing an interpreter, so he's hard of hearing. But we wrote stuff down, and he understands what's going on today. So I don't think we need an interpreter. We just have an agreement.
I see. Is that the gentleman sitting next to you?
He's sitting next to me. He can raise his hand. He's just hard of hearing. We wish we had closed captioning. That would probably solve a lot of the issues, but I've been writing stuff down and communicating with him. And he understands English.
It turns out we had another case that was listed and somebody asked for closed captioning. So indeed, I think it is available. We would just have to put it on this, have our administrator put it on the screen. Would you like us to do that just so that Mr. Doe can see it?
Absolutely, if that could be done.
This is Board Counsel Ryan McSherry. I believe if you're using Zoom, at the bottom of the screen, there should be the CC for closed captions, and you should be able to click on that button and have the closed captions appear.
Or is it an apps, or is it, do I do it, or?
You go to where it says more.
Oh, more, okay. And then captions, oh, I see. Full view.
So what we'll do is, did you call the case, Mr. Wade, or?
All right, I have the caption working.
This is case number 19, hearing appeal ending 2765, 817 South 8th Street, Beach, Doe.
Very good. Mr. Johnson, you
Yes,
requested.
we have an agreement in the matter. The case should be marked as city affirmed with a 90-day stay of enforcement.
Mr. Stern, your counsel, are you seeing that on your screen?
Yes, it's coming up in the caption. And my client, can you read this? Can you read? Can you see it? The caption? Can you read it? You see the caption? Wait, hold on.
To read the closed caption.
Yes, see this closed caption? Can you read it? Now he's having problems reading it, but I wrote it down.
So you're representing to the board that your client is in agreement with the proposed settlement terms?
Yes.
All right. Unless I find any objection from anyone under the circumstances, it would be nice if your client were able to nod or indicate his concurrence.
Right.
Thank you.
Let's just wait 1 second. Is he able to
Yeah,
concur?
wait, not here.
Yes.
Yes, that's a yes, I believe.
Yes, yes.
Very good. All right. We'll note the agreement for the record. Thank you.
All right, thank you. May we be excused with that?
Yes, Mr. Stern.
All right. And Chris, if anything we need to sign, send it over to me.
All right, thank you. Will do.
Okay.
Mr. Johnson, anything further?
I don't believe so.
Very good. Then let's go back. I see hands from Mr. Fernandez. Oh, do we have the interpreter? Is the interpreter present?
They were.
Yes, I'm here. Were you listening as this matter was presented, sir?
Yes.
I don't know that I need to swear him in. I think we need just to confirm that he was present and dismiss him from the hearing. Correct, Mr.
Yes.
Wade?
Yes, that's correct.
All right. Thank you for your efforts, Mr. Nguyen, if I'm saying that correctly.
Yes. Thank you. Anything else? Just have a nice day.
Thank you. Mr. Fernandez, I see your hand.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to call your attention to case number 4 on the list. Appeal number HA 2023-013383. I don't have the name of the appellant in front of me right now, but the attorney is Piayan Lasana.
Is the attorney present?
He is potentially about to join. He was just at another hearing and just said that he is able to join.
Let's wait for him to join, I guess, if he's part of whatever you wish to have the
Yes.
board consider.
Well,
And then he can spell his name because I didn't quite get that.
okay. Well, I can start explaining the situation. I mean, it's going to be very quick, and then you can say I'll email him that he can join now if he has the opportunity. Please do. Okay. We've come to an agreement in his matter. I just forwarded an email with him copied on it to Board Administrator Mr. Wade with the contents of the agreement. The agreement is for the appeal to be disposed of as city affirmed with a 30-day stay of enforcement. And I am also to say on the record that the violation related to underpinning written on that notice of violation has been withdrawn. So the city has withdrawn one of the violations, the one alleging that there is underpinning at 5029 Morris. With respect to the disposition of the appeal, it's city affirmed with a 30-day stay of enforcement.
Is the counsel, I think you said he's counsel, correct?
Yes, and I emailed him right before I started explaining the agreed upon disposition, asking him to join. About 2 minutes before that, he had emailed me saying, he finished his other engagement and was available to join now. So I would expect him to be joining at any moment.
Well, I guess until he appears, I see Mr. Rulo's hand. So let's go to Mr. Rulo and then we can come back on this matter and we'll have Mr. Wade call the case. All right.
Very
So
well.
let's hold off for a minute. All right, Mr. Rulo.
Yes, good afternoon again. If
I can't help but notice that both you and Mr. Fernandez have the same background. You must be either sitting on each other's laps or it looks like City Hall behind you, but I'm not sure.
For me, it looks like we have mirror versions of the same background. But yeah, I guess we selected the same one. We like this one the best. But turning to number 49, ending 004064 1016 West Arizona Street, and Emma Janae Holmes Leggett. The appellant is here, and I did have an opportunity to speak with her. I believe she is muted at the moment.
Should we call the case?
Yes. So I guess I should explain what I'm calling here. But the city is going to consent to a continuance here because the property has not been inspected since 2023. And then I learned in the course of a conversation just now that Ms. Holmes has actually not been in possession of the property and only recently obtained an order for ejectment. So, we're willing to consent to a continuance of this matter to enable the removal of the individual who is there, and then hopefully an inspection to determine compliance status. Given how long it is taking for ejectment to proceed right now, the city would be willing to, I think, push that out to November. And I can be in communication with Ms. Holmes in the interim to hopefully find a resolution here.
All right, so first of all, let's have Mr. Wade call the case.
Case number 49, hearing appeal ending 4064, 1016 West Arizona Street. Emma J. Holmes Leggett.
And Ms. Leggett Holmes, you are Ms. Holmes Leggett, excuse me. Are you present? Would you?
Hi, yes, I'm here.
Raise,
I'm imagining.
would you raise your right hand and do you swear or affirm that any statements you make will be the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Very good. I guess there's no objection. I note it's a late appeal, but we did list the case, so I assume there's no objection on the part of the city to continuing and having the matter listed for a continuance date.
So just to be clear, the city is reserving its rights to make, any of and all arguments as to the merits of the appeal, timeliness, and those items. But given the circumstances, we are willing to consent to this continuance here to see if there can be a resolution and, importantly, a reinspection.
Very good. Ms. Holmes, that's the name on the screen. Do you agree to continue the case while you try to resolve these matters?
Yes.
Very good. We'll mark it continued.
Thank you.
You're free to go, or you're welcome to stay and listen to the hearings when we get to the rest of the list.
Okay. Thank you.
Have a good afternoon.
You too.
And Mr. Fernandez, are you are you available? Is your just a moment, please. My apologies. Mr. Fernandez.
I apologize, Mr. Chairman. An LNI inspector just called me on the phone regarding one of the appeals today. Could you repeat the statement or question I missed?
Well, we're working on you said you had a settlement agreement you wanted to present to the board, and counsel hadn't appeared. Is counsel available now?
He is.
Yes, I'm here.
Mr. Lasana, is that correct?
Correct. Payon Lasan on behalf of property owner AJ Wilson at the 5929 Morris Street address.
Mr. Wade, would you call this case, please?
This is case number 4, hearing appeal ending 1365, 5029 Morris Street, Ajay Wilson.
And Mr. Fernandez, would you repeat? Mr. Lasana, you are counsel for the appellant in this matter?
Yes, Your Honor.
And we understand there's an agreement. Would you repeat it for the record, Mr. Fernandez?
Yes, of course. So the violation notice that was initially issued in this matter contained 3 violations, or 2 violations and 1 directive. One of the violations was for underpinning without a permit. One of them was for conducting repairs without a permit. And the other was in order requiring an engineer's report to be produced regarding the work that was performed. An LNI inspector performed an inspection last week and determined that one of those 3 violations was issued in error, specifically the violation for underpinning without a permit. So the inspector confirmed that underpinning had not occurred at the site. So that violation has been closed out as written in error as of last week. The remaining 2 violations, one is to get a permit for the work that occurred, which is, I think, agreed upon at this point, the replacement of the basement slab at 5029 Morris Street. The other violation is to get an engineer's report related to the removal and replacement of the slab. Council and I have agreed upon a disposition where the appeal is to be marked city affirmed with a 30-day stay of enforcement.
Very good. Mr. Lasana, is that your understanding and agreement in behalf of your
Yeah.
client?
Yes, Your Honor, that is our understanding and agreement.
Very good. Very good. Thank you for coming this afternoon.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Very good. Anything further from anyone on the
No.
city? Very good. So I guess we should go and start with the list in those cases that haven't been resolved.
You go up to the top of the list, case number 2. Hearing appeal ending 0076 237 South 48th Street, Philip Pulley.
Case number 2. Is there someone here for the city on this matter?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, but not from the city. I represent Mr. Pulley and the defendant in this case, Michael Yano.
And Will Fernandez for the city of Philadelphia in this matter.
Very good. Let me, are you prepared to proceed, Mr. Yanoff?
Mr. Chairman, we have filed at the suggestion of the city, actually, we filed an appeal to the fire board, and we'd ask that this matter be stayed pending that appeal. It's the Philadelphia Board of Safety and Fire Prevention. The issue has to do with the fire suppression system, and we filed an appeal to that board today, and we'd ask that this matter be stayed pending that appeal.
If I may provide a little bit of additional background, I think that might help the board make a decision. So the first thing to say, there are a number of violations, fire code violations, property maintenance violations that were originally issued to this building, an apartment building located at 237 South 48th Street. As of the most recent inspection, all of the violations are marked complied with the exception of the fire systems certification violations. So there's violations requiring the submission of annual certifications for the sprinkler and the fire alarm. The building is vacant and empty, and the appellant and their counsel, they were previously asking L&I to use a provision of the code that is located in property maintenance 311.2.2, which says fire protection systems shall be maintained in an operable condition at all times. Exceptions: where the premises have been cleared of all combustible materials and debris, and in the opinion of the fire code official, the type of construction, fire separation distance, and security of the premises do not create a fire hazard. They were basically asking to be exempted from the certification requirements due to the building being vacant and cleared out of furniture, etc. The L&I inspector declined to give them this waiver to exempt them from the fire code requirements, citing the type of construction, the fact that there's some interior insulation still remaining, like, insulation along the walls, and other things related to the how flammable this building is. They also cited the proximity of a school and some other factors. The inspector told the appellant and their counsel that they could essentially seek to challenge this discretionary, or they could seek to overturn or challenge this decision by seeking an appeal to the technical board, the fire board, and that is what has been done here. I wasn't aware that that appeal had been made and that a stay would be requested today. My first blush opinion, given that I just learned about this, is the city would still ask for, I know that this is marked must be tried, and so I would not oppose this being stayed pending the fire board. But I also would not have an issue with this going forward and being decided. The original notice of violation, I don't think that would conflict with the authority of the Board of Safety and Fire Prevention to later amend the city's decision or change the city's decision and grant them that 311.2.2 exemption that they are requesting.
If I may address that, I actually think it's just the opposite. I think that if the fire board were to grant our request for a variance or relief from that requirement, then this proceeding probably would be a nullity in light of Mr. Fernandez's comments that all the other violations have been complied. So to that extent, it doesn't make sense, if I may suggest respectfully, it doesn't make sense for this proceeding to take place, at least until the fire prevention appeal has been heard, which may make this a complete nullity. Now, if the fire board says, no, you're not entitled to it, then we're back here again on the violations, and perhaps we reach an agreement with the city with respect to that matter. But at this particular moment, it doesn't seem to make sense to go forward with this particular proceeding in light of the other appeal. And therefore, I request that this be stayed.
Well, let me go back to the statement that Mr. Fernandez made, which he said that the violations have been complied. Does that mean that is there a case that you wish to present today regarding this appeal, or because they're complied, but for the fire code issue, the case would be marked moot or complied?
I believe it.
No, I asked Mr. Yanoff.
I'm sorry, did you ask me or Mr. Fernandez?
I asked Mr. Fernandez.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were asking me.
No.
Yeah, so the hesitation I have is that if this board were to, sorry, I'm just thinking through the actual kind of eclipse process and, making sure that this case wouldn't.
I'm just trying to make sure if in fact you've agreed that there's one item that is to be appealed to the Board of Safety and Fire Prevention. I think I have that correct. And everything else has been complied. Do we have anything that this board should be considering today?
Well, I think the only thing that would be in front of this board is the same issue that is going to the fire prevention, the Board of Safety and Fire Prevention. If this were a first listing, I would agree with Mr. Yanoff and ask this board to stay the case or to give this case a long continuance to let the technical appeal play out. So part of my calculus in not joining that request is that this has been before the board many times. These violations were issued quite some time ago, and this board has had this appeal marked must be tried on 2 occasions. I do agree with Mr. Yanoff that if the Board of Safety and Fire Prevention were to determine that they didn't need to have annual certification systems, there would be nothing left for this board to hear. However, I would also posit the inverse of that argument, which is if the Board of Safety and Fire Prevention were to decline the appeal or petition and determine that the certifications were required, there wouldn't really be a need for this hearing after that regardless. So the issue, I guess, is going to be moot one way or another once the fire board hears the case. I don't think there's any factual dispute here between myself and Mr. Yanoff and his client. I think we're all in agreement on the status of all of the violations. The one thing that I would want to prevent is the Board of Safety and Fire Prevention hearing the appeal, determining that it is appropriate for fire systems to be certified annually at the location, and then because of a stay or continuance for the appellants to get another bite at the apple before this board and relitigate the issue. So after talking myself through all of that, I suppose I end up with the position that if the Board of Safety and Fire Prevention has taken their appeal and is going to hear this, the matter will be moot before this board, regardless of how the fire board rules.
Mr. Chair,
So-
if I may,
Sure, Mr. Tennant.
may we take a quick executive? If you don't mind, sir.
No, I'm sorry, what did you ask? Oh, an executive session?
That is
Sure.
correct.
Well, I guess the Mr. Fernandez, are you agreeing?
Unless Mr. Yonoff has a response to Mr.
Well, I
Fernandez.
think Mr. Fernandez is saying, I think I'm hearing him through his oral thought process saying
Sorry about
it's okay to continue the case, although I tend to agree that the appellant had ample notice of time to get an attorney, has had ample opportunities to present this case, and there isn't a whole lot of sympathy that I think this board should have with respect to this appellant because of his lack of cooperation. However, what I think I heard from Mr. Fernandez is, well, there's only one matter pending, and that is now on appeal as of today. Another incident or evidence of the appellant's failure to act in any way in a timely fashion. But there is a matter that's been appealed to the board and the Board of Safety and Fire Prevention, and maybe we should allow that process to take place. Is that your conclusion, Mr. Fernandez?
Yeah, I think that's a fair summary of my conclusion. The one thing I'd add is that the appeal to the fire board, was submitted at a very late hour, much later than the violations were issued. And so I believe it is a late appeal. And so I have some concern that it might not actually be heard. The other potential resolution to this that I would propose is if both Mr. Yanoff and myself are in agreement that all violations except for those related to certifications are marked complied, and that the appropriate venue for those violations to be contested, since it's a discretionary issue up to the fire code official, is the technical board and not the Board of L&I review, then perhaps this could be resolved through a city affirmed disposition with a proviso or note that is not to disturb any considerations undertaken by the Board of Safety and Fire Prevention. That way they can still hear that appeal, determine whether they want to overturn the fire code officials' discretion or not, and then we don't have any issue of this coming back to this board and getting relitigated or further delayed after that board has had the opportunity to hear the appeal.
If I may comment, Mr. Chair, sometimes silence is the best approach to take, but I just have to have one comment, if I may. And I think Mr. Fernandez will agree with that. If not, he'll say, we have been working with the city to remove the combustibles over a period of time. It's not like we have been ignoring the situation. And this appeal was filed as a result of a recommendation made by the last fire inspection. And that's why it's filed at this particular point. So I don't want the board to believe that we have been ignoring the situation, because we really haven't. And we've been working with the city to remove combustibles. And this is the last issue that needs to be addressed. And I think Mr. Fernandez will agree with me.
Yeah, I didn't mean to disparage your client's efforts towards compliance in my last monologue. That wasn't the aim.
All right, well, let's do this. Let's take hopefully a brief executive session, and we'll be back in a few minutes.
Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
So we're finding that your client has put us in a very difficult place, Mr. Yanoff. This is a high-rise building in the University City area. There are lots of students in that area. It could be a danger or hazard, and not having complied with fire code requirements is a serious matter, and this matter has been pending for a very long time. What we're going to do, even though we've marked it must be tried, is we're going to list it for a hearing on September the 24th. I'm looking, Mr. Fernandez, you're here. I can see you. You're hearing this as well.
Yes.
We're going to list it for a hearing on September 24th. And we believe the Board of Safety and Fire Prevention will have either 1 or 2 meetings between now and that date. And it's incumbent upon you, Mr. Yanoff and Mr. Fernandez, to get this matter considered by them, because we're not going to let a building of this magnitude sit there without demonstrating that either it needs not to comply with these requirements, or it does, and we'll get the fire system fixed and tested. We can't allow that to sit there on the street any longer. So on September 24th, we'll hear this case. Whether or not it's been resolved by the Board of Safety and Fire Prevention or not, we will hear the case.
Understood.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Very good.
May I be excused? It's my own matter.
Yes, you may.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too. All right. Anything further? Are we in a position to start hearing the cases? That was case number 2.
Brings us to case number 25. Hearing appeal ending 2833, 413 North 38th Street, Alluvio Nanala.
This is Christopher Johnson for the city of Philadelphia. I don't believe that the appellant has appeared.
I'm going to say it in my own way and then spell it. Alivelu Nanella. Alivelu is the first name. Second name, Nainala. The property is 413 North 38th Street. Is there anyone present regarding this property or the appellant?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I'm looking at a request from him to have a continuance.
I do see a note that a continuance has been requested for 4 weeks.
Right, that's one I'm looking at too.
Mr. Johnson, this is your case, is that correct?
I was unaware that there had been a continuance request. I know that this was at least the second listing. When it was the continuance request came in 4 weeks ago.
No, I don't know the date of the request. I have to look. Mr. Wade, do you have the date of the continuance request? And it was continued before because council, we believe that, or there's a note that there's an LLC involved and council was needed.
We would agree to one more continuance on this.
On the
Who
12th.
said who said that? I'm sorry.
Mr. Washington. I have requests coming in on Monday, August the 12th, 9:12 a.m. to the board administration. And it basically requests additional time to work on this appeal. My hearing is scheduled for tomorrow at 12:30. Could you please grant additional 4 weeks to continue to work on my appeal? Is that what you're looking at also, Mr. Pincus?
Yes, it was discussed this morning that he was working with the Historical Society. But that in and of itself is not in my view, a legitimate basis for an additional continuance. He does not have counsel. He should have, if anybody should be making that request, it should be representation, which he was required to get 2 listings ago, and he hasn't done that. Do we know that he's actually in front of the Historical Society? No, we don't, because he doesn't have counsel. And he hasn't produced anything to show that he's making a legitimate appeal to the Historical Society. But it doesn't negate.
It would be the Historical Commission. Would that appear on the city OPA website if there had been an appeal filed to the Historical Commission? I think it would. Mr. Johnson?
I'm not aware. I know that the zoning appeals are visible, but I don't think the OPA shows historical commission cases. I mean, from the city's perspective, this is a very simple matter. He had replaced the what was a woodwork cornice at the top of his row home with a flat piece of vinyl siding, and it was kind of a minor repair, and yet it was in violation because of the historic nature of what the cornice looked like before. So it's not really a super technical issue, but at the end of the day, the city would say it was a violation.
And it's not a health or safety issue.
It's not a health or safety issue.
We seem to be having a lot of these kinds of issues today. Again, I'm troubled that, again, it appears that Mr. Nanella has not indicated that he's gotten counsel. He may or may not have filed the appropriate appeal to the Historical Commission. But again, on an issue of a continuance, and it's not a, as you say, a serious health or safety issue, I would be inclined, unless anyone objects, to grant one further continuance with a note: the matter must be tried at the next listing.
Note my objection for the record, Mr. Chairman.
Any other objections?
Just a quick question, Mr. Johnson. Have you been in communication with the appellant?
No.
Have
No.
you endeavored
I
to-
can reach out to him though after this.
I want to
Yeah.
note my objection too, because there's no communication on the appellant's part.
So, but other than he's requested a continuance, he or she. So,
And he requested it to the board.
yes,
Yeah.
well, again, I have two people objecting, but not hearing from the other members of the board in objection, I'm inclined to grant the continuance request. And ask that it be listed, must be marked, must be tried, and listed at the earliest available date. And to note that counsel is required, and Mr. Johnson, you will make an effort to advise the appellant of this.
Okay.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
Case
Case noted as continued.
Case number 26, hearing appeal ending 2934, 2526 South 64th Street, David Coletta.
I have that as case number 28.
I apologize, case number 28.
David Coletta is David Coletta. Oh, counsel for the city. Let's do the.
Good afternoon, board members. John Wazorek for the city.
Mr. Wazorek, is David Coletta present? David Coletta regarding the property at 2526 South 64th Street. Are you present?
David Coletta is present.
Are you able to make yourself visible, sir?
No, no, and I thought we had this resolved with John, the attorney, last night, so we would have got 90 days to work directly with the inspector and John, the attorney, and then all of a sudden today, about an hour before the hearing, it called and he said the
Before you
inspector
start,
said, "No,
before
we
you
can't have
continue,
it."
Mr. Coletta, normally if you're putting something on record, we would ask you to be sworn in. We're not able to see
Okay.
you, and you've indicated you're not able. I mean, are you on a iPhone or a phone or a computer where you're able to have a camera video?
No, I'm on a regular phone, a regular.
All right, Mr. Wazorek, if I'm saying your name correctly, have you had conversations with Mr. Coletta?
Yes, we have had conversations with Mr. Coletta, but ultimately an agreement for settling this matter was not reached, and the city is prepared to move forward with the case today.
So you've had conversations, you've made an effort to settle the case. There has not been an agreement, and you're prepared to move forward with the case.
Yes, sir.
And you have a witness here to testify?
Yes, Inspector Yolanda Tolbert is here.
But we have no video and any exhibits you present would not be readily observable by the appellant. Is that correct?
That appears to be the situation.
And has this matter been listed before? Is this the first listing?
This has been listed before. Mr. Coletta actually requested an advance continuance for the first listing back in June. The stated reason being he has audio and visual issues and has trouble with Zoom. The city is prepared to move forward today. I'm not sure if the board has a resolution for Mr. Coletta's issues. I'm happy to proceed. Ultimately, that decision is the board's to make.
Well, each case is presenting its challenges today. Mr. Coletta, if we continue this case, would you be able either to find and make or have available access to a computer or some particular software that enables you to make yourself available on screen? Or alternatively, are you able to come into the city's offices and attend the hearing in person? Not before the board, but to make yourself available. Are you hearing me, Mr. Coletta?
Hello?
Mr. Coletta, can you hear me?
Hello? I just got cut off. I don't know if anybody can hear me.
We can hear you, Mr. Coletta.
I'm cut off. This is David Coletta. It's about 2:42 p.m. I'm cut off, and I don't know what to do now. Oh my God.
All right, so
Respectfully, Chairman Pincus, Mr. Coletta has been aware that this has been a Zoom hearing. He was aware of it for the first listing. He's aware
phone
of it for the
clock
second
is still.
All right, could you be,
Hello?
Mr. Wade, would you mute Mr. Coletta? He doesn't seem to, he perhaps has muted himself.
May I suggest that I can reach out to Mr. Coletta. At the prior hearing, it was continued for technical support. We did reach out to him and tell him he could go to a library or his local councilman's office. We gave him other options to try and join the hearing. And if we just put this on hold for a second and call the next matter, I'll try and reach out to him and see what, if anything, can be
All
done.
right, and then if necessary, we'll have to have an executive session as to how to decide how to proceed. All right, I understand the city's position,
Thank you,
and
Chairman Pincus.
it doesn't sound like it's going to get any better based on the ability of the appellant to cooperate. Let's go to the next case, and then Mr. Wade, you'll try to reach out to him.
I believe Mr. Rula may have come to an agreement and he has his hand raised.
All right, Mr. Rulo.
Good afternoon again. I'd ask if we could call, I do have an agreement, and I'd ask if we could call number 40, ending 003819, appellant Benjamin Lopez.
Mr. Wade.
Case number 40, hearing of appeal ending 3819, 2821 North Reese Street, Benjamin Lopez.
Mr. Lopez, are you here or do you have counsel? I see on my screen a Benjamin Lopez. Can you unmute yourself or will?
It appears that the car might be moving.
Mr. Lopez, are you in a car or a vehicle and can you stop it? And can you unmute yourself?
Yes. Yes, can you hear me?
I can hear you, but I lost the picture. Maybe there you go. Are you only, you're marked as, we see you now, or are you stopped and are you able to unmute yourself? You're muted, sir. Mr. Rulo, were you able to speak with Mr. Lopez?
Yes, on the phone, and we did come to an agreement.
Well, Mr. Lopez, can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right, so we see you off and on. This is the gentleman you spoke with, Mr. Rulo?
The voice sounds that way. I did not obviously see his face over the phone call, but the voice is the voice of the person that I spoke with.
All right, well, then represent to us what the agreement is, and the gentleman can then come back and, Mr. Lopez, could you raise your right hand? so that we can see it on the screen? Is that your right or left hand? Could you say, would you swear or affirm that any statements you give today or testimony will be the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Can you say yes? Would you? Yes, okay. Mr. Rulo,
Yes, we've reached an agreement of a city affirm with a 90-day stay of enforcement.
Mr. Lopez, is that your understanding as well?
Yes.
All right, so we'll mark on the files an agreement city affirmed with a 90-day stay of enforcement. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Rulo. Thank you, Mr. Lopez.
that
Have a
for
good
both matters?
afternoon. That's
Thank you.
the
Have a
end
good
of the
day.
matter.
Is that for
Yes.
both matters, Mr. Rula? Is that for case
No,
39?
that is solely for, I'm not sure, that is solely for number 40.
That's for number 40. Okay.
I had
Thank you.
Benjamin Lopez listed for number 39 as well.
Yes, Will Fernandez for the city of Philadelphia. I just took over covering case number 39. Mr. Lopez is here for case number 39 and case number 40. One set of violations is for a building permit and electrical permit being required for construction that occurred. The other violation is for a new use registration permit and a certificate of occupancy for the same structure that was built, a one-story garage structure built without permits at 2821 North Priest Street. Given that Mr. Rulo just entered into that agreement for one of the sets of violations, the ones that are under appeal number 40, I haven't had a chance to speak to Mr. Lopez, but I would offer the same agreement to him on the other matter since they are intertwined. They're basically the same issue. So I'm not sure if Mr. Lopez, would you accept that settlement for the other matter as well?
Yes.
All right, so as we go back and forth between seeing you and hearing you and Mr. Lopez and Mr. Fernandez and Mr. Rulo, we'll mark this file as agreement, city affirmed with a 90-day stay. Is that acceptable to everyone? Mr.
Yes,
Fernandez?
Mr. Chairman.
Okay, and Mr. Lopez?
Yes.
All right. You have no other cases, Mr. Lopez, is that correct?
I believe so. There's no more.
Okay, very good. All right. Is there someone else from the city or are we ready to go with the next case? I see a Mr. Paulinese raise, I believe he has a hand raised, or is that correct?
Yes.
Do you wish to speak, Mr. Paulinese?
I'm here.
Okay, well, we'll go through the list and if your case comes, please respond when we call your case. Okay?
If I may interrupt, Chairman Pincus.
Yes, Mr. Begelman.
Mr. Paulinese's case was read as moot earlier.
Thank you. Can I have a
Mr.
question?
Paulinese, please listen to me. Your case was marked moot. I said if you have any, to everyone that was listening at the time, if you have questions or don't understand exactly what that means, it means that the city has found a way that your appeal and the violations have been resolved. You should contact the board's administration office. The number is on the notice that you received of today's appeal, and you can discuss with them and ask any questions regarding the disposition of your matter. It won't be heard today. Your case has been marked moot.
Thank you
Okay?
very much.
Yes, sir. Mr. Wade, are we, I guess, ready to proceed with the next case? Oh, he may be talking to
I was talking to Mr. Coletta. He did drop off. In that matter, we can call case number 29, hearing appeal ending 2940, 1541 West Tucker Street, Cheryl Baxter.
case number 29. Cheryl Baxter, are you present? or someone representing the property at 1541 Tucker Street? Is there anyone present? How about counsel for the city?
Lee Bagelman for the city in this matter. I have attempted to reach Ms. Baxter via email the last week multiple times, and I've not received any response.
Okay, therefore, what is your request at this time, Mr.
The city
Bailey?
requests that this be a city affirm for failure to appear.
This case was previously listed on June 20th. Ms. Baxter listed 2029 Wharton Street as her mailing address. Notice of that hearing was sent on May 10th. And notice for today's hearing was sent on July 5th, 2024.
To the same address.
To the same address.
Very good. Mr. Pettit, what is the time?
2:51 p.m.
All right, we'll take a vote. My vote is city affirmed for non-appearance.
City affirmed non-appearance.
City affirmed for non-appearance.
City affirmed non-appearance.
City affirmed non-appearance.
City affirmed non-appearance.
That concludes matter number 29.
Thank you.
All right, are we, Mr. Fernandez, are we having any luck with Mr. Coletta? Mr. Wade, are we having any luck with Mr. Coletta?
He is back. Let me see. He did join back on his phone. I don't think we're gonna have too much luck. Mr. Coletta, can you respond?
Well, before we proceed to another matter, why don't we, since this
Hello?
has been. Mr.
Hello?
Coletta, can you hear me?
I can now. I got disconnected twice.
Well, I'm not sure
I'm
you were
having a-
disconnected, Mr. Coletta, because we kept hearing you, so something must have happened at your end, but we kept hearing you. So could you, you're on the line. We've had counsel, Mr. Wizarak, asked that we hear the matter. We'd like you to be present physically or through the Zoom meeting with your video working. That isn't the case. I'm going to ask you to stay on the line. I'm going to ask Mr. Wizarak to stay on the line. Again, we're going to ask to take a brief executive session.
Could I say something?
No, you'll have to wait for the moment, please. Okay?
Because if they set up another hearing, I'll go there. I can go there.
Well, then before we excuse ourselves, they indicated in the last time you were scheduled for a hearing that you could go to a library or the city councilman's office. I believe you could also go into the offices of the board's administration and be present as well. Are you saying you would be willing to do that? You're able to do that?
I would go downtown to your office any time.
All right.
Give me a notice and
Board's administration is currently not accommodating that in our office. He would have to go to a library or possibly a councilman's office or have a relative assist him with getting on the Zoom.
So, Mr. Coletta, you heard the administrator for the board saying you have an option to arrange to go to your city council person's office, to go to a library where they have the ability to, you can have to make arrangements. We've had hearings before where someone's gone to the library. I don't know whether he has to bring his own computer in, or will they provide the computer, Mr. Wade?
I believe he can use the computer.
No,
I'm asking Mr. Wade, could you hold on, Mr. Coletta?
Okay.
We've had previous appellants join from the library computer and they let them
I say you'd be able to use.
Yes,
the-
they'll provide some assistance with him getting on.
Or your
That's the
third
thing is-
alternative is to find a relative or a friend who has a computer that you could make yourself available to. Those
Mr.
three
Pincus,
alternatives.
Mr. Chair, if I
Yes.
may. I don't see Mr. Coletta's attorney listed here. I was wondering if the city attorney had communication with his attorney.
I
He's
do not believe
listed here.
Mr. Coletta had an attorney.
Because
There's
for the
nothing-
violation as a business, he requires an attorney.
It's a use registration.
Yeah, for a tire shop.
There's no tire shop. There's no business.
Mr.
That's why I'm
Fernandez.
so frustrated.
All right, hold on a moment, please. Mr.
Tires, cards, it's a business, asking them combustible waste for removal of tire, cars, parts, containers, obtain a cert for the repair business out of the garage. Obtain zoning to operate the auto business. So
Are you saying, is this an LLC or some sort of a corporate entity?
If I may, this Mr. Coletta is the property owner. The idea that a auto repair business is operating out of the garages, that's would be a separate entity. Ultimately, Mr. Coletta is the property owner, and he was the one who was issued the violation, appealed the violation, so no attorney would be needed.
Thank
Okay,
you.
very good. This
But
is
there-
your
but
case,
there's
Mr.
not a business
Fernandez,
there.
is that correct?
This is my case.
No, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, I'm
Chairman Pincus.
sorry.
That's okay.
I'm sorry.
I
Yeah, I'm sorry. All right, so I would like to ask you to hold on, Mr. Coletta, and we'll
Thank
go
you.
into an executive session for a few minutes, we hope, okay?
Thank you. Thank you. Putting all that in that house? I'm still on the phone. There's a handle on there, you know. Well, you're strong. All right, hey. Go ahead.
You're muted, Mr. Pincus. You're muted.
Sorry, we're back on the record. My apologies. Mr. Coletta, are you still with us?
Mr. Coletta is still with you.
Very good. And Mr. Wizarack, I'm looking to see you on my screen.
I'm
There
here,
you
Chairman
are.
Pincus.
All right, so what we're going to do is, and I understand Inspector Tolbert, I think he's on, there he is, or she is, I'm sorry, Miss Tolbert. Can you and Mr. Coletta agree on a date today, perhaps for you to go out and re-inspect the property? You're here. I don't know if I need you to be sworn in, but are you with us, Miss Tolbert? I know you're.
Yes, I am.
Okay. You don't have to necessarily make yourself visible, but you're here. You've testified before this board before. Are you able to set up a date today with Mr. Coletta to make a re-inspection of the property?
Yes.
All right. Can you identify a date, Miss Tolbert? And a window.
It will have to be next week because I have class and I have
Sure,
municipal
sure.
court
That's
Friday.
fine. We're not, this isn't going to be listed for a hearing for at least probably 30 days. So
I won't be around next week. I'll be around from the 25th on the rest of the month.
all right, Ms. Tolbert, are you able to pick a date after the 25th?
Yes, let's do the 30th
The 30th of August in the morning or afternoon?
morning.
Afternoon for me because of my medication.
Are you able to do the afternoon on the 30th, Ms. Tolbert?
Yes.
All right, so we have a re-inspection to be performed on August the 30th in the afternoon. We agree to continue the case, mark it must be tried, and ask the matter to be listed at the earliest possible date after August 30th. All right, is that an understanding that we have, Mr. Wozrak and Mr. Coletta and Inspector Tolbert?
Respectfully, excuse me, respectfully, Chairman Pincus, I believe there are two Blir dates prior to the 30th. I think given the background of this matter, I would prefer this be heard as soon as possible after today's hearing. The 27th and 29th are both scheduled.
Well, we want to have a re-inspection done, so so we'll allow for the scheduling of the re-inspection on the 30th. I don't know, based on the pictures I'm looking at, that we have a dangerous condition that affects the safety. I mean, I can see the question is there a business being conducted? And it certainly looks kind of trashy, but I don't know that we have a, it doesn't appear that there's.
I would defer to Inspector Tolbert on that, but respectfully from what I see, it looks like there are combustibles in a very small contained area. And if there is work being done at that property, I think that would be a safety concern.
Well, I think what we'd like to do is get it re-inspected and an inspection that reports the present conditions of the property, and then we'll hear the matter. I appreciate your desire to hear the matter, but we also want to give Mr. Coletta an opportunity to be present in person, either at a facility where we can see him and he can see the exhibits that are presented. And Mr. Tolbert, Mr. Coletta, you understand, you have to, once you get the hearing date, you'll have to make arrangements to appear either at a library, a city councilman's office, or to speak with someone you're acquainted with and have their computer available for you to be present.
Yeah, well, the library only lets you on for an hour because I already talked to them about that. But John, the attorney, gave me Miss Talbert's phone number, her cell phone, 215-429-0802. So I'll be reaching out to her.
Well, all right. So you have you've agreed on an inspection date of August the 30th in the afternoon. We'll relist the matter, and it's incumbent on you to find a way to make yourself available so that you can appear on the Zoom screen. And we won't
Thank you.
continue, and it will not be continued after the next hearing date.
Mr. Chairman, can I
Thank
ask
you.
you a question before you leave?
Yes, Mr. Pettit.
Mr. Coletta, do you own the garages?
I do own the garages.
Okay, all right, that's all. Thank you.
For 36 years.
Well, then you have a matter that has to be resolved within, between now and the next hearing date. All right,
Okay.
very good. Let's move on to the next matter.
Can I hang up?
Yes, you may hang up. Thank you.
Thank
you, Mr.
thank you so
Wozniak.
much.
I'm sorry that we are not necessarily complying 100% with your request.
No problem. Thank you, Chairman Pincus.
Number 34, hearing appeal.
Mr. Fernandez, your hand is raised again.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to very quickly say that I saw somebody on the call with just the name Delane. They're still on the call. I believe that is my appellant, Delane Andrews from case number 24 on the list. And I just wanted to inform her that her appeal had been dismissed as moot complied because she resolved the only remaining violation yesterday.
Yes. Hi, I'm aware of that. I just use these sessions and see if I can learn anything from what's happening with other fellow citizens.
Well, you're welcome to stay and listen and perhaps learn. I don't know, but you're welcome to stay and listen. So
Okay, thank you.
Let's go to the next case.
Case number 34, hearing appeal ending 3018 5825 Willows Avenue, Cassandra Withers.
Good afternoon, board members. John Wazorek for the city.
All right, case number 34 5825 Willows Avenue.
Excuse me, Mr.
Cassandra.
Chairman. Because of the previous relationship with this particular owner, I'm going to have to recuse myself from this particular case.
That's fine. I don't know that the appellant is present.
I believe I saw Miss Whiters on the call.
I am
Ms.
present.
Whiters? Oh, there you are.
So
Okay.
if Mr. Wade can put me in a breakout room and bring me back in afterwards, I appreciate it. Thank
Very
you.
good. Mr. Wozniak. All right, Ms. Withers, Whiters or Witters, how do you pronounce your name?
Whiters.
Ms. Whiters, can I ask you to raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give today will be the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
All right, we'll hear from the city first.
Good afternoon, board members. I would like to call Inspector Martin Higgins.
Present.
Mr. Higgins,
Yes.
can I ask you to raise your right hand? Inspector, do you swear or affirm the testimony you give today will be the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Is that a yes or no? Yes, okay, all right.
Yes.
Mr. Wozniak, will you proceed?
Good afternoon, Inspector Higgins. Could you please share with the board your employer?
I am employed by the City of Philadelphia Department of Licenses and Inspections. I'm a code administrator. I have had the job for 26 years, and I am working out of the managing director's office.
Thank you, Mr. Higgins. You covered my next few questions. So are you familiar with the property located at 5825 Willows Avenue?
Yes.
And how did you become familiar with that property?
We received a complaint for overgrowth and debris at the front of the property.
Thank you. Permission to share my screen, Chairman Pincus?
Yes, proceed.
Is that visible?
I see Exhibit A, yes.
Great, thank you. So Inspector Higgins, do you recognize this document?
Yes, it's a notice of violation in order, correct.
And what are the violations that were issued to Stephen and Cassandra Whiters?
The violations were for the debris in the front as well as the overgrowth in the front.
And correct me if I'm wrong, we'll cover this later, but the weeds at the property, that violation has since been complied. So we're just dealing with the rubbish debris in the front of the property, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, so I'm going to show you a few pictures.
Before you continue, Mr. Wozrak, I just, it comes to my attention, the violation was written to Cassandra, and you said Stephen, Whiters, right?
Correct.
Is Mr. Whiters, is Stephen Whiters present?
Yes,
I see. Okay. Can I swear you in as well?
yes,
Do you swear, would you raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give today will be the whole truth, but nothing but the truth?
yes,
All right. Now we expect one of you to be the spokesperson. Is that Ms. Whiters?
yes.
Okay, that's fine. Please proceed.
Just a point of clarification, the appeal was filed by Mrs. Whiters.
Okay.
But I will proceed.
But they are both the owners of the property. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Inspector, this is Exhibit B. This is just the OPA page showing the property is owned by Stephen and Cassandra Whiters. But here are the pictures you took. And is this an accurate representation of the property, Inspector Higgins?
Yes.
And so this was the first time you visited the property in response to a complaint you received, correct?
Yes.
And so could you point out the two code violations for us, please?
So again, it would be for the concrete debris that's on the front of the property as well as the overgrowth contained in it.
Thank you. And turning to Exhibit D.
Before you proceed, do you have a date for, I don't see a date on, oh, I do see a date. That this picture was taken. It's not, I'm having.
Sorry, that's not clear. That is June 2nd, 2023.
All right.
And so, Inspector Higgins, you returned to the property as this picture is date stamped on June 18th, 2024, correct?
That's correct.
And this is the picture you took and is an accurate presentation of what the property looked like at the time.
Yes.
So could you explain to me what is existing under this tarp?
So I was in contact with Mrs. Withers. She contacted the office regarding the violations that were issued. She said that she was using the concrete. They were going to break it down and erect a wall in the front of the property back in 2023 when the violation was issued.
So when you visited the property on this date, June 18th, 2024, that concrete debris from your first picture, that still existed under the tarp?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. But just as a point of clarification, the weeds were gone, and so that violation couldn't be marked as complied.
Yes.
And so I guess what I'm asking is why would the tarp on top of the debris, concrete debris, not comply the violation?
The violation was issued for trash and grass when I originally issued this case. The trash and the concrete debris is still present at the property, regardless of you putting a tarp over it. It still would be an eyesore.
That makes sense. So I guess just a hypothetical question, Inspector Higgins, if I took my trash day is Monday, if I dumped it in my front walk, you would issue a violation, correct?
Mr. Higgins, we're having trouble hearing your answers.
So I'm sorry about that. So the answer to that would be yes, if it's not in an approved container by the sanitation code, as well as
if I just
property
dumped it out of the
maintenance code.
container and the trash was,
Yeah.
And if I covered it with the tarp, would that nullify the violation? Would that comply the violation?
No.
Okay, that's all the questions I have today. I'd just like to admit my exhibits into evidence and offer Inspector Higgins for cross.
Your exhibits are accepted. Ms. Whiters, do you have, you're welcome. You will have an opportunity to explain the situation, but do you have any questions for Inspector Higgins regarding his testimony, the statements he made regarding what he's observed?
Okay, so this is where I'm at with this. When I
Miss
first
Miss
talked,
Miss Whiters, Miss Whiters, did you hear what I just said to you?
okay, so the question I have for him, he's saying it's trash. What does he consider trash?
So
Mr.
according to the property, according to
Go
the
ahead.
property maintenance code, trash or rubbish is defined as materials, be it food or construction debris on a property in excess of the code.
Any further questions, Miss Whiters?
No questions. I just have my own.
I have a question, Mr. Chair.
Sure, Mr. Washington.
Thank you. Inspector Martin, how do you know
Yes.
how do you know what's under there? I don't see any pictures. I don't see anything saying it's trash. You didn't show anything. How do you know what's under there?
It's the concrete debris that's been at the property since 2023 that was supposed to have been used
But
to.
again, I'm asking you, how do you know what's under there? You can't tell me about what was there. Because this is not the same picture we looked at of what was there. I want to know, did you walk over there? Did you lift up the tarp? Did you take a picture of what's under the tarp?
I did not lift up to the tarp because I have to operate within the realm of the Constitution of the United States, where it gives a person protections for inspections.
Okay,
But
so I'm
if you would go back,
I'm gonna repeat again.
Well,
Repeat my
Mr.
same question again.
Washington, I think
How
what
do
Mr.
you, no, let me finish. How do you know what's under the tarp? Since you just testified that it's concrete debris and all that. I don't know, how do you know that?
so if the attorney for the city would share his screen again, we can go back to the pictures that were taken in 2023. If you could zoom in onto the debris. Notice the tree in the background, Mr.
Yes.
Washington?
Yes,
All right,
yes.
so let's go down to the picture where the tarp is covering the debris. You're going to see that the height of the debris is still the same in comparison to the tree at the neighboring property.
But when I'm looking at the previous pictures, I also see there's I'm gonna call them vines. I don't know what they are. Vines on the side of the I'm gonna call it the right side of the steps. I don't see that. I don't see any of the vines that was up top. I don't see the debris that was on the I'm looking at my pictures. That's on the right side of the property. That look like there's a pole there. I don't see any of that. That's the reason why I asked my question.
If I may, Board Member Washington, in the appellant's appeal statement, if I may show you, the reason stated for appeal at the end of this states, told to remove weeds, did so, and now wanting to remove concrete stones. I told that I would cover, don't see need to remove. So I think that supports Inspector Higgins' position that the concrete debris underneath the tarp was never removed.
No more questions, Mr. Chair.
Further questions, Ms. Whiters? If
No,
not, you're welcome to explain to us why you believe the violation is improperly issued.
okay, number one, when I spoke to Mr. Higgins, he said it was a quality of life issue. And so now I'm saying to him, the quality of life issue was the fact that they could see the debris. Since then, I want to ask, well, I should have asked that question. I didn't think about it. Is it a hazard? I wanted to ask him, is it a danger to the community? Because now I've sent them pictures with a fence enclosed around the issue. So I know he received it, and I know the lawyer received it. So now, since it's been enclosed, it's a fence around the whole property in my front yard. I want to know, why do I still have to remove it?
Well,
It's not a quality of life issue. It's not a hazard. It's not a danger to the community. Nobody's going up in my front yard. There's a fence that's been placed around it. So what is the complaint now about it? I've seen other people with debris with a fence in front in their yard. There's never been a complaint about it. I've seen weeds with fences in the yard, no complaint about it. So now I want to know, what's the complaint that the debris, the blight, the hazard, the danger, the community, what was a quality of life issue has now been enclosed in a non-see-through fence.
I Miss Whiters, if I may, I just want to confirm what you said. The concrete pile that was first photographed in 2023 is still on the property, but it's been covered with a tarp. Is that correct? And is that correct?
Yes.
And there is a fence that you've now installed around that pile.
Yes.
We don't have a picture of it, and you may or may not have gotten permits to put that fence up on the front of your property. Is that correct?
The lawyer has a copy of it, and I also sent it to Mr. Higgins. And I know that the lawyer have seen the pictures.
I can share the photo with the board if that would be helpful.
Yes.
Surely, please do.
Give me one.
And that should have been mentioned.
Is that photo visible now? Sorry, I just threw it into a
Yes,
Word.
it is. So that fence has been put up, is that correct, Ms. Whiters, between the date that the city made its last inspection on June the 18th and today? Is that fence at the property today?
Yes, it is.
Did you get a zoning approval or a permit to construct that fence?
No, and I'm quite sure all the other people on the block didn't have one either. They had the same type of fences up.
Oh, I know, I'm not worried about the other people on the block. That's another matter for another day. But I'm asking you whether you obtained any permits or approvals to install that fence.
No.
Very good. All right. Then you have a question. This is a redirect. I hope that Mr. Wazarak doesn't mind. Is the existence, I guess, two questions now. Number one, is the fact that the debris that was initially observed in 2023 and still remains on the property, although covered, is that still a violation today?
That's directed to me, Mr. Pincus.
Yes.
Yes, it is. And to go and touch on the quality of life issue, we also need to understand that this property on Willows Avenue is her rental property. So it's definitely a quality of life issue for her tenant.
Ms. Whiters does not live, Mr. and Mrs. Whiters do not live in the property?
No,
Is
they do
that-
not. They live on Woodbine Avenue.
Is that correct, Ms. Whiters? You're not living in the property? Is that correct? Can you hear me? Are you frozen? Can you hear me?
Looks like she's frozen.
Can you try to get them? Ms. Whiters, are you with us? Do we have a problem, Mr. Wade?
You just dropped off.
Board Member Pincus, if you would.
Hold on a
like-
second. Hold
Sure.
on a second. They're not here. We need to make sure they're present. And then normally you don't speak unless a question's been directed to you by one of the board members or council.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. It's okay. You don't do this every day.
I do.
Are we having any success, Mr. Wade?
I'm gonna try and call her right back. Coming in now.
Am I saying that name correctly? It's Whiters, right?
Yes, they're back now.
Ms. Whiters, can you hear me? You're muted. Can you unmute yourself, or Mr. Wade, are you able to?
I sent her a prompt.
Okay, all right.
Can you hear me, Ms. Whiters?
I can hear you now.
Were you hearing the response when I asked Inspector Higgins? Did you hear his reply whether the violation still exists today, notwithstanding the coverage by the tarp?
No, I went out.
All right, so let us get him let me ask you a question before he repeats his answer. Is this, or do you and your husband live in this property?
No,
It's a rental property?
yes.
Okay. Mr. Higgins, I believe the question that was asked was whether or not there's a tarp over the property. Is it still a violation?
My answer was yes, it's still a violation. It was not corrected. And to address the quality of life issue that Ms. Withers addressed, it's her rental property, so her tenants have to
It's
deal
vacant.
with the blight.
It's vacant. The
Miss,
property.
no, Ms. Whiters, he's answering the question. Please let him answer the question. Please don't interrupt. If you have something to say, we'll call upon you. All right? Let him finish, because I have some more questions for him.
So what I was stating is that the tenants living there, it would be a quality of life issue for them with the
I see.
trash still being at the property.
But there is trash and debris. It's just covered. Is that correct? And that still constitutes a violation. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct, Mr. Pincus.
And there hasn't been an inspection since June, but if an inspection were to be made today, does the fence that is shown on the picture that Mr. Wizerak showed us, does that constitute a separate new violation as well?
Yes, it does. It constitutes a zoning violation. Fences over the height of 48 inches require zoning approval and
All right.
permits.
Very good. Ms. Whiters, do you have any further statements you want to present to us or further questions?
Yes, and that is that the property is not occupied at the time, it's vacant. So you're saying the fence can't be no higher than 48 inches. So now I have to remove part of the fence. Is that what you're saying?
I'm not saying, we're not saying anything. We asked whether the fence is a legally permitted fence and based on, and there's no violation notice. So there's not a present violation. So it's not a matter that we have authority to consider at this time.
So what is
Okay.
the height of the fence supposed to be?
Well, you'll have to get counsel or check with or call Mr. Wizerak or check what the requirements are with respect to the installation of a fence. It's not a matter today that we're considering. All right? You have anything further you want to add?
My problem is,
What time the stones is used for? What we gonna use
I told him I was going to use the stones to put a fence up.
to put
You
a
said
wall up, to build
to build the wall. You said it was a hazard I did everything I thought I could comply with, and I'm still going through the same thing.
All right.
We can't
Thank
So-
you.
because
So,
we're gonna use.
so
the
what are you
stones.
telling me to do now?
Well, we're not telling you at the moment. We're gonna vote on the matter and explain to you what our decision is. Let me
Mr.
ask the
Chairman,
board
may I
to,
ask may I ask a question, please?
sure, Ms. Penn.
Ms. Whiters, you said in your appeal notice, and you've just testified that you told Mr. Higgins you were using the stones to build a wall. Why haven't you built the wall?
Because I'm waiting to get the tree cut down. The roots in the tree is all over the place. So I have to have that tree cut down. The tree is almost 4 or 5 stories high, and it's a shared tree. And so since the neighbors on the other side don't want to help cut the tree down, that means that whole thing falls on me, and we're looking at $6,000.
Or more.
Okay, given that you cannot remove the tree at the present time, what is preventing you from removing the stones from the front of your property?
The price,
And
the
we-
price,
Excuse me, well, I'm sorry, one at a time, please. Ms. Whiters?
the price of removing the stones, because now you're saying remove them, and then you have to get them dumped.
then we gotta bring them
And
back.
then I have to go find some more stones and bring them back.
Yeah.
Well,
And that's
I'm
the
not
cost.
saying that you have to dump them anywhere. I'm asking you, can you remove them simply from the front of your property? Is there no place else on your property that you could store the stones until you prepare to build the wall?
No, because every place would be a hazard, as the city would say. I mean, I have another property up on the corner. I have a lot up on the corner. If I put them up on the corner, that becomes another problem.
Well,
And then I'll get a fine saying there's stones on that. I'll
All
get
right, Ms. Penn, if you,
Thank
has
you. I
your,
don't have any other questions.
all right. So you have more than one property that you own, Ms. Whiters, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay,
The
all
one that-
right. Very good. Do you have anything further you want to say, you or your husband?
No, other than 5825 is vacant.
And the
I
only
have
thing-
no tenants.
And what I have.
All right, we're fine. I think we're ready to take a vote.
Wait a minute, I have to say something. The stones is to, like I say, build a wall. So the problem is, if I take the stones and move them, now I gotta take and get them and bring them back. So it's just the time factor of me getting the tree cutting down and do my wall on the yard. That's
Mr. Whiters, this violation was written almost 2 years ago. And you've had an opportunity. You said it's a problem. You don't have cooperation from your neighbor. You've had 2 years to find a way to try to resolve this particular problem. And it hasn't been resolved, and you certainly can appreciate whether it's covered or not, it constitutes a city violation. Let us ask the board now to vote on this, on the appeal that you've made. All right, are we ready to vote, board members? My vote is city affirmed.
City affirmed.
Oh, sorry, city affirmed.
City affirmed.
City affirmed.
Mr. Tennant recused himself, so for those present, the vote is city affirmed 5-0. Thank you for your cooperation, for participating in the hearing. You'll receive a notice in the mail that the city's position has been affirmed and your appeal denied. Next matter.
Thank you, Chairman Pincus.
That's it.
Yes, Mr. Wesserack.
Get them off of there.
Mr. Chairman, if I might, you need to advise the Whiters about their appeal rights.
Thank you. Are you still here, Mr. and Mrs. Whiters? Did I lose them? Well, they'll receive a written notice from the board of the decision, which includes the opportunity to appeal it. Am I not mistaken, Counselor?
That is correct. The decision will have that information.
All right, so I'm sorry I didn't, they must have disconnected. Thank you, Inspector Higgins.
Waiting for Mr. Tennant to come back into the room and I'll call the next matter.
think I have three more matters. Is that correct, Mr. Wade?
I have two.
You have two. Well,
They're
I
35.
have three.
well,
I have 35 and I have 38.
and where is 34? That's the case we just heard. I see.
Yes.
Okay,
What was 33?
that was listed in error. That was listed in error.
Thank you.
It was consolidated with another matter heard on 8-1. This is case number 35. Hearing appeal ending 3081 1507 Adams Avenue. Adam Miranda.
So for the city,
Good afternoon, members of the board. Will Fernandez for the city of Philadelphia.
do we have Adam Miranda present? Adam Miranda, property address 1507 Adams Avenue. Anyone here with respect to 1507 Adams Avenue? I don't hear a response, and I see that Inspector Keenan has appeared. He may be here as your witness, Mr. Fernandez.
That is correct, Mr. Chairman.
All right, I'm not hearing any response. One last try. Adam Miranda, 1507 Adams Avenue.
No one in the waiting room under that name. This matter was previously listed for June 20th. Mr. Miranda listed 1507 Adams Avenue as his address. Notice of that hearing was sent on May 13th. Notice of today's hearing was also sent to 1507 Adams Avenue on July 5th, 2024.
And this involves a stop work order, correct?
Yes, it involves a SVN issued due to the violation of a stop work order.
Well, all right, there's no one present. What would you ask the board to do, Mr. Fernandez?
Hearing no response from the appellants, I would ask that this appeal be disposed of as city affirmed for appellant's failure to appear.
Mr. Pettit, do you have the correct time?
3:40 p.m.
Mr. Chair, could you do me a favor?
Yes, sir.
Could you just check to see, because somehow or another, I got withdrawn written on my paper.
36 is withdrawn.
Okay.
So this is case 35, HA 2023-003-081, 1507 Adams Avenue, Adam Miranda. My vote is city affirmed for non-appearance.
City affirmed non-appearance.
City affirmed non-appearance.
City affirmed for non-appearance.
City affirmed non-appearance.
City affirmed non-appearance. The vote is city affirmed non-appearance 6-0. Mr. Wade, let's go to the next case.
The final matter, case number 38, hearing appeal ending 3816 28 South Millick Street, Felicia and Michael Seawright.
And for the city.
Good afternoon, Sean Loeb for the city.
Good afternoon again, Mr. Logue. Is someone present regarding the property 28 South Millick Street, Felicia and Michael Seawright?
I do not see anyone present in the Zoom.
Mr. Wade, do you see anyone present?
No one listed under that name. Mr. and Mrs. Seawright listed 118 Cherry Street, Collingsdale, Pennsylvania as their mailing address. Notices of this hearing was sent to 118 Cherry Street, Collingsdale, Pennsylvania, 19023 on July 5th.
Is this the first listing?
This is the first listing.
Well, there's no one present. Mr. Logue?
I would ask for a city affirm for failure to appear.
All right, case number 38, 28 South Malik Street, HA 2023-003-816, Felicia and Michael Seawright. Mr. Pettit, what time do you have?
3:42 p.m.
My vote is city affirmed for non-appearance.
City affirmed non-appearance.
City affirmed non-appearance.
City affirmed for non-appearance.
City affirmed non-appearance.
City affirmed non-appearance. City affirmed is the decision 6-0 for non-appearance.
Chairman Pincus, before you adjourn, I just noticed a Devin Johnson on the call. He is the appellant for a case of mine that was marked as moot in preliminary matters. That's case number 37. So Mr. Johnson, if you can hear me, you're good to go. Your appeal has been resolved.
You're muted, Mr. Johnson. Just want to confirm that you heard Mr. Loeb's statement just now. Are you able to unmute yourself? You're still muted. Do you know how to unmute yourself, sir? Is this something you can help with, Mr. Wade?
I could send them a prompt.
All right, there he is. Mr. Johnson, did you hear Mr. Logue? Your case was administratively dismissed earlier as moot. Okay. All right. Anything else further? Anyone else have a question? I see some names of people that I'm not familiar with. Otherwise, these hearings are concluded for today, Thursday, August the 13th. We'll conclude the hearings.